Buongiorno, buenos días, guten Morgen, good morning. Let's continue with the names, the sons of Jacob. Jump right in. In this passage, Rachel, younger sister, still hasn't been able to bear any children, to become pregnant, so she gives Jacob her maid, Bilhah, and it says in Genesis chapter 30, verse 5, and Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, God has judged my case, and he has also heard my voice and given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. So let's see. Dan is Dalet, final noon in the Hebrew. Dan, and it means judgment or he judged. And is the first son with Bilhah, the fifth son overall. Jacob's fifth son. Dan, who becomes the father of the tribe of Dan, becomes, their name means judgment or to judge. So we continue reading in Genesis. Then verse 7, and Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, with great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed. So she called his name Naphtali. Naphtali. Naphtali would be sixth son overall. So we have Nun, letter Nun, Fe, Tav, Lamed, Yod. And Naphtali means, well, wrestling, entanglement, and which wrestling can relate to the name of Jacob, because as we know, before he gets his name changed to Israel, he was, say, he wrestled with the angel. With an angel of the Lord, he wrestled with God. He had wrestled with God and with men, and he had prevailed, he says. And then he calls him Israel. But continuing with Genesis, in verse 9 we see, when Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob as wife. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, a troop comes. So she called his name Gad. And let's see, Gad means a troop, or also can be fortune. Fortune has come, or luck, or fortune, or success, or a troop, as we will see later in the last words of Jacob. And Gad in the Hebrew is Gimel, Dalet, Gad. Keep reading. I'm reading from the New King James Version. I forgot to say that. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, I am happy, for the daughters will call me blessed. So she called his name Asher, Asher, which means happy. And we have Aleph, Shin, Reish. And will be again the father of the tribe of Asher. The sons. Yeah, we have Asher. So this is interesting. They're naming, every name has a meaning. And those names, because the way that the Hebrew is built, the letters and their numbers and all this, there's also deeper meanings that we can study in a later session. For now, let's finish with the 12 sons of Jacob. Finish with Asher. And now the story goes that Rachel makes a deal with Leah for the mandrakes that Reuben has picked. She says that tonight she'll let, Jacob go and be with her, dwell with her. So Leah grabs Jacob as he's coming out of the field from work, and they go and they spend the night together. And then God listened to Leah. Verse 17, and God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Leah said, God has given me my wages, because I have given my maid to my husband. So she called his name Issachar. Issachar means wages. It tells us right there in the scripture how we spell it in the Hebrew letters Yod, Shin, Shin, Kaf, Reish, Issachar. There is reward, there is a wages, different meanings, and we can look at I'm going to go break down each letter to the meaning, because each of the Hebrew letters has a meaning and a number, but we'll do that in another lesson. And verse 19 we continue. Then Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, God has endowed me with a good endowment. Now my husband will dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. So she called his name Zebulun. Zebulun. Zebulun is to dwell or dwelling, and it's spelled Zayin, Beit, Vav, Lamet, Vav, final Nun. As you can see, the Vav can be used as a vowel, sometimes as an O, sometimes as a U, sometimes as a Vav, as a V, or a W sometimes, as it is written. But Zebulun, Sabulun, Sabulun, Zebulon. Again, the father of the tribe of Zebulun, to dwell. And I'll do a whole session later on all the women, on the females. It says afterwards she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. But the tribes are the 12 sons, 13 if you wanna, the hidden tribe later with sons of Joseph that are 2. But we'll do that later, yeah. So in verse 22, then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son, and said, God has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Joseph, and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. So here's Joseph. And it's the first finally. Which, interesting to note, Rachel, the one that Jacob, let's say, truly fell in love with from the beginning, was the last one to give birth. So Joseph, he will add, spelled Yod, Vav, where's the Vav? Samek, Fe, Samek, Fe, Yod, Samek, Fe, Yosef, Yosef, Joseph, he will add. And we shall continue. So the second son will be later. So we have to skip. Then Jacob has to be taken away. Pause it right here for now. I will continue. Ciao, ciao.